Spencer almost choked when he heard that. His old face turned slightly red as he said, "You can't say that. You already have so many enemies. It's not a big difference if you have one more, right? I think the potential gain is worth it."
"Enough, cut the crap." James waved his hand and said, "Tell me, what do you want me to do? Make sure it's not too much trouble."
"All right, I'll give you a simple account of the situation, and at the end of the day, this is also for the peace between you humans and our beasts."
Spencer told James about the chaos in the beast race and the current situation in Small Cloud Heaven, and he didn't hide anything from him. "You mean to say that you're actually the king of the beast race? But 1,000 years ago, the current king plotted against you, and after entering the spatial rift, you were lucky enough not to die. So you stayed here and you want to kill him out of revenge? Of course you can't just walk into the front door, or you'd be walking to a trap. You need to find another way." James scratched his head and said, "When you were in power, the beasts and humans had a harmonious relationship. But after you were chased away, it all changed. And then, in the Small Cloud Heaven, you're asking me to get rid of that alchemist who openly provoked the refining Holy Land and lure him to your side?"
"That's right," Spencer nodded. "I heard that the alchemy expert is very skillful. He seems to be at the Heavenly Pillmaster level, and if I could get him to join me, I'll return to the beast race gloriously."
James rubbed his chin and kept trying to figure out the meaning and feasibility of his words. He didn't fuss about it and said slowly, "You should know how much effort your request will take and how much it will affect me. But it's true. We are very similar. We're facing enemies from the same world. Anyone who sees us will probably kill us. One world is after one of us, and both worlds are after both of us. Cooperation is the best way to survive. Tell me what your conditions are, but if I don't like them, I won't do it."
"Of course, you'll definitely be interested in my conditions."
Seeing James's attitude, Spencer took out a pearl that contained a large amount of energy. He said with a smile,
"I don't have many bargaining chips. This is the only one. What do you think?"
"What is that?" James stared at the pearl in a daze, not blinking. This pearl contained a huge amount of violent energy. Just the aura emitted by the thing was enough to make his heart palpitate. This thing was definitely a supreme treasure. When Blue, who was behind Spencer, saw the pearl, his breathing quickened. He was scared, but longing for it, and his body was shaking a little.
"You probably haven't seen this thing before, but you should have heard of it. This is the Beast Core, and it is of the highest grade in the entire beast race," Spencer said proudly. "To us, this Beast Core is the most precious thing. Are you satisfied with this offer?"
"The Beast Core," James cried out in shock. "This is the Beast Core that can only be condensed by an expert above the 9th layer of Heavenly Human stage of the Beast race." James had really heard of those before. This thing was similar to his inner core, and it contained a huge amount of energy. If he extracted his inner core now, he would be an empty shell. As for the people of the beast race, all of their energy was concentrated in this Beast Core. If they extracted the core, they would die. At this moment, the Alarically let out a cry and said to James, "This thing is ridiculously strong. It makes my entire body stiffen. Oh, what powerful energy."
"That's right." Spencer was very satisfied with James's shock and said, "This Beast Core is the ultimate treasure of our race, an item that has far surpassed the level of shattering the void because it's an inner core of a dragon. Do you know what a dragon is?"
"What? A dragon? Is there really a dragon in this world? Don't lie to me," James cried out in shock.
"If you haven't seen one, it doesn't mean that they don't exist," Spencer said slowly. "Of course, it's not really from a dragon. It's the inner core left behind a rare beast expert with a very strong dragon bloodline from ancient times."
Wow. James's mind was a mess, and he couldn't react right away. What's the use of this thing? Besides, Isn't this the ultimate treasure of the beast race? Why would you give it to me like that? At this point, James really couldn't believe it. He really couldn't understand what Spencer was trying to do.
Although it's a supreme treasure, it's useless in my body. This thing isn't suitable for me, Spencer said frankly. But if the chosen person obtains this thing, he can withstand the violent energy within it and completely absorb it. Even a human can condense a beast core in his body. He might then possess the innate ability of this beast core, and his strength will increase exponentially.
Absorb? Are you kidding me? James widened his eyes and said, "It has such a violent force and even has the bloodline of a beast. How could it be absorbed? You beasts might have a chance, but the possibility for a human to use it is almost zero. With such a treasure in your hands, are you trying to lead the disaster in the East? You're going too far."
Everything's possible, isn't it? Spencer paused and then said seriously, "It will be a treasure no matter where it's placed. Even if it's used to craft a weapon, it won't lose its power. This thing can be refined into a saint weapon."
Oh. James's face changed. He was a real artifact refining master now and didn't want to miss out on such a high-level item. "All right, I'll agree to form an alliance with you." James instantly made up his mind. "But this thing of yours is not worth that price. You still have to agree to one more condition." Spencer frowned.
"Tell me, what other conditions do you have?"
"I will leave shortly. When you're on my side, you must take care of my women. Make sure to not let any of them get into trouble. With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult," James said seriously. At the end of the day, his biggest concern was the safety of his girls. Each one of them was only at the third step heaven level. He was the one who raised them up. They didn't have any combat strength, and they didn't have any actual combat experience.
I thought it was going to be something. I'll take care of them. It's settled then. I hope that the next time I see you, you'll have already reached an extremely high level,"
Spencer said with a smile and heaved a sigh of relief. "Well, I will." After saying that, James took the beast torch and turned around to leave.
"Sir, did you really give him our supreme treasure?"
Blue shivered as he watched James leave.
"So what if it's a supreme treasure? It's useless in my hands. I might as well give it to that guy."
Spencer, on the other hand, was very calm. He said with a smile,
"I've never seen anyone absorb the beast core of a dragon bloodline, even in the beast race. Even if I spent years and years, I wouldn't be of that required level. The beast core has a heavy energy to it, and it's been dragging me down. Now that I've given it to James, my world has become much more open and my mood has become much better. In the past 1,000 years, my strength didn't improve at all because of this inner beast. It couldn't be helped. But I was always unwilling to give it away as it was too precious. No one was worthy of it until I met James. Now I can take advantage of this break to cultivate. Otherwise, that bastard will leave me behind."
After leaving, James was baffled. He couldn't figure out why Spencer would give him that thing. It was very strange. James went home to see his parents. When he arrived at Holy Flame Sect, Stephen had been waiting for him. "Is everything settled?" Stephen asked with a smile. "Who wants to go to Small Cloud Heaven? Have you decided?" "Of course," James said. "There are a lot of people who want to go. Other than you and me, there are also Dorian, Dave Levitt, Eddie, Rind, and Angelica. There are 8 of my friends and 100 people who have been defeated. And that's about it." Originally, James also wanted his father, Ezra, and Wayne to go with him. But his father didn't want to leave his wife, and Ezra had to take care of the family. As for Wayne, he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to pursue Ezra too much, so James just let him do whatever he wanted. "All right, come stand in front of me. I'll start now," Stephen smiled. As everyone stood up, the formation was activated. Countless rays of light flashed and burst out with brilliant colors. Everyone felt their eyes blur and their bodies turned weightless. After some time, everyone finally felt something change. They struggled to open their eyes and were stunned.
Is this the small cloud heaven?
Mr. Morris asked in disbelief, gulping. They looked around and could see that the ground they were looking at was actually dark brown soil emitting a strong fire energy. Through careful observation, they could find that the temperature of the ground here was 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Even the colors of the plants were not green, but dark red. Everyone took a deep breath. They could feel a large amount of energy continuously pouring into their bodies. The absorption rate was so fast that it was ghastly. Soon, several of them had reached a bottleneck and were on the verge of breaking through. The spiritual energy here is so dense, it's truly wonderful. Compared to our side, this place is like a holy land. Scott widened his eyes in disbelief. Yes, this is the small cloud heaven, Stephen said with a smile. On the other side, the spiritual energy is thin. In fact, in your realm, you're suppressed, but here the suppression's gone. It suddenly increases your spiritual energy by a lot. Many geniuses have the feeling of breaking through after entering the small cloud heaven. This was only the first step. It will never happen again in the future, but it's enough to increase you by 1.5 steps.
There is a reason why there are so many experts in small cloud heaven. Even if a person is an idiot, even if he doesn't cultivate, as time passes, he will still be able to reach the innate stage, Eduardo said with a sigh. Having a good family background seems very important.
You're right, Stephen said with a smile. In small cloud heaven, there are no ordinary people. The weakest one is at the acquired stage. That's who they call ordinary. Besides, in a big family, many outstanding bloodlines will be passed down through generations. When a person is extremely strong, the child they give birth to will be at the innate stage. There's no way we can compare with this. But at the same time, you don't have to be jealous. You also have your advantages. That is, you have experienced much more hardships than them, and your minds are stronger than theirs. Unless your bloodline is extreme, there are very few people who are your match.
Everyone nodded to that.
Then Terry asked,
Boss, where are we going?
Where? James narrowed his eyes. Our main goal is to increase our strength. In my opinion, Terry, Scott, and the rest of you should go out and train separately. With your talent and strength, it wouldn't be a big problem for them to protect themselves. As for the rest of you, followed Terry. All of you have the pills I gave you, and you have Dorian, an Earth Pill Master, with you. Assist Terry in creating the holy sect of James Lee in Small Cloud Heaven, and develop our intelligence system here. As for the 4 kingdoms and the Small Cloud Heaven, you all can choose from these places. Go wherever you want. I hope that we meet again and that all of you will become top fighters. If you need me, go to the refining Holy Land.
I can't wait to go to such a good place,
Chris laughed and said.
Okay, let's split up. I'm going to the west. They say that the Western Kingdom is the most chaotic. It's also the place with the most opportunities. Plus, I'll see you another day.
Chris left elegantly. They all followed James's instructions and left one after another, starting their new lives. The refining Holy Land is the most suitable for you, Stephen said with a smile. But you don't have to worry. Everything will come slowly. I've already blocked the thing that the compass on your body can detect. No one will be able to find you. But to let everyone know that you arrived at Small Cloud Heaven, you should make some noise. I think you should understand what I mean. Of course I do. James grinned and said, as for building the sect, I'll depend on you. After all, Terry's too young. You just need to help him more. Don't worry. I'll do my best. Stephen took out a compass and handed it to James. He said, this is a communication compass. You can't use your phone here. Use this to send messages. If you need anything, you can contact me. I hope we meet again soon. After everyone left, James felt empty. An unfamiliar environment, a strange world, and an unknown future. He looked at his phone, which had lost its signal, and felt helpless. Was the technology here underdeveloped? Why did it feel like they'd entered a primitive society? Shaking the unrealistic thoughts off, James slapped his forehead. He'd forgotten to ask Stephen about the path to refining the Holy Land. This place was so big that there wasn't even a means of transportation around. What should he do?
Why are you thinking so much? Don't you have a mouth? Just find someone to ask for directions,
Alaric Lee said. All right, that's all we can do for now. Since we're here, let's go and try to understand this place. James shrugged. He picked a random direction and walked towards a dense forest of red leaves. There were countless experts on the territory of the Holy Flame Divine sect. If he wasn't careful, he might end up in trouble. After walking for some time, he suddenly heard the roar of a wild beast.
Quick! We have to surround that thing. We can't let it escape. This is something that the Supreme Saint Elder wants. It's small but fast and doesn't have much combat strength. We have to capture it alive,
shouted a young disciple with flame patterns on his clothes. The surrounding people dispersed. They held weapons and thin nets in their hands and enveloped the small animal that was burning with flames. James secretly watched them. He transmitted his voice to the Alaric Lee and asked curiously, "Hey, what is that thing? That strange little animal is the size of my palm. What's with the flames?"
I don't know either.
The Alaric Lee was puzzled too.
This thing looks like a spirit fire beast. But that cry was not right. I can feel that the cry had an extremely strong pressure. It's just that this little thing is too small, so it doesn't have any strength at all.
The fire spirit beast was a type of demonic beast in the small cloud heaven. Unlike tigers and lions in the mortal eating realm, the spirit energy here was abundant, and many ferocious beasts were born with extraordinary strength. Some of them were very powerful. They also had an intelligence comparable to a child's. Stephen had told James about these things before. He'd also given him a reference regarding the division of powers in the small cloud heaven, as well as the use of certain things. What's the use of this fire spirit beast? James asked curiously.
This thing is extremely beneficial to those who cultivate fire element techniques, and you know it as well. Fire spirit beasts are an extremely rare species and are very hard to find even in the small cloud heaven. One of its characteristics is that it's a demon core that innately possesses a demonic beast, and it also contains a heavenly flame. It has an extremely large fire energy, and if it was carefully nurtured, once it matured, it would be refined and absorbed by others. It is very likely that one will comprehend the fire source, the Alaric Lee explained. If that's the case, then these people are probably capturing him for his demon core, James murmured. While the two of them were talking, someone in the group asked, "The Holy Light Supreme Elder is one of the top experts of the Holy Flame sect. He is in a hurry to obtain it. Could he have already comprehended the fire source?" The disciple's face showed yearning. The Holy Flame sect was the only sect in the small cloud heaven that mainly consisted of fire strength. After all, in this world, the degree of comprehension of the fire strength was the highest. As for the source of fire, it was the most powerful entity, and they were fascinated by it. How could it be so easy to comprehend the fire source? Even those supreme entities like the Shattering Void can only comprehend a small portion of it. The man in the lead laughed lightly. What the Sacred Light Elder needs this time is to use this little thing to comprehend its fire strength to the highest level under the fire source. It is infinitely close to the fire source and can control the alien flame. They say that on the mortal leading realm side, the human emperor's heir seemed to have absorbed the sacred flame and had the power of the fire source. At that time, the Elder of the Holy Light will kill the brat and seize the power of the fire source from him. If he successfully absorbs it, they'll be able to control the fire source and even have the chance to get to the level of breaking the void. That isn't the inheritance of the human emperor. Are we not going to fight for it?
A disciple exclaimed.
Isn't it impossible to kill a human emperor's heir? If we kill him, the inheritance will be lost and no one will be able to obtain it. How hard can it be to snatch it from him?
The man in the lead sneered.
It's been so many years, but I have never heard of anyone really seizing the inheritance of the heir. If anyone succeeds, do you think it will be the Holy Flame Divine Sect? The 4 great kings won't just watch helplessly as this thing is in our hands. Rather than that, we might as well get some advantage. If an expert who can shatter the void appears in our sect, we will rise to a whole new level.
That's true. Another man nodded and added with a sneer. It will be extremely unfortunate for us to leave the heir. Since ancient times, after the inheritance of the human sovereign realm was left behind, it had been passed down for 8 generations. However, there were only 2 times when the heir had grown up. However, the outcome was tragic. 3,000 years ago, Davy Gaylord was extremely powerful, and for a moment it was unknown whether he was alive or dead. The inheritance of the human sovereign shouldn't have appeared in the mortal leading realm. It'd be a waste for those dregs to obtain it. If I ever meet that kid, I'll torture him to death. James was fuming when he heard that.
Damn it, what did they think of him?
Why did everyone want a piece of him? They lacked the fire source, so they came here to get it. Recalling what Stephen had said before he left and hearing the determination of these people to get him, James became angry and shouted, "Wishful soul-chasing staff!" The people of the Holy Flame Divine Sect were thinking about the future when they suddenly felt a biting cold, causing them to be shocked. Especially the man who wanted to torture James. He was shocked because his target was suddenly right in front of him. The man couldn't dodge in time. He could only pick up his weapon to defend himself. Under the tremendous force of the explosion, he fell to the ground and spurted out a mouthful of blood. But James didn't care about him at all. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the thin net that bound the fire spirit beast. "How dare you?" Seeing the beast was taken away and his men were seriously injured, the man in the lead became furious. "Who are you? How dare you come to our territory and attack us? You're playing with fire." "Who am I?" James sneered. He looked down at these people from above and said coldly, "I'm the unlucky bastard you were just talking about, the human emperor's heir. Remember my name? My name is James Lee." "The 9th generation human emperor heir, James Lee. You're James Lee." The dozen or so people from the Holy Flame sect cried out in shock. "Why are you here? Weren't you supposed to be in the mortal leading realm?" "No, that's impossible. James Lee would never be here, you little bastard. How dare you lie to me?" "You're trespassing on our Holy Flame Divine Sect land. You've committed a heinous crime. Die now." The man in the lead had a stern look on his face. He waved the long blade and pointed it at James. "Flaming Saber." With a swing of the blade, a powerful firepower burst out. A fiery red saber chi that was filled with rich energy was thrown at James. "The power of fire. Your power is so weak, you're embarrassing yourself by taking it out and using it." James smiled coldly. He waved his hand and took out the wishful steel staff. "Lotus Reincarnation." With a swing of his staff, a violent explosion burst out from the long blade. In the explosion, the golden flame was like a group of poisonous snakes rapidly spreading towards the men. "What? Golden flame? Are these fires of holy flames?" The man was shocked. Under the intense impact, he let out a muffled groan. He quickly retreated and stared at James in shock. And then he let out a ferocious laugh. "Fire of holy flame. Fire source, you're really James Lee. Oh, great. I've been looking for you everywhere. It didn't take me much effort to find you." And then he turned to his men and yelled, "Stall him. Hurry up and tell the experts of the sect to come here and kill this man." "Yes, sir." The people behind the man were startled. They looked at James with greed as if he were a treasure. Then they quickly retreated and ran towards the sect. James's eyes sparkled as he watched these people leave. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. He had no intention of stopping them. He looked at the man in the lead and said, "Do you think the few of you can stop me? You've reached the third layer of the heavenly human stage. What can you do to stop me?" "How dare you? If you hadn't just launched a sneak attack, my men wouldn't have been so easily injured. You're just a mere first layer of heavenly human stage trash. Do you think you're that strong?" The man sneered. "This is not the mortal eating realm, a place where trash like you can do whatever you want. This is the small cloud heaven. Who do you think you are?" Sure enough, all the people in small cloud heaven are very arrogant. James shook his head and laughed lightly. "Third layer of heavenly human stage. You're scum. I've killed too many of them. I really can't be bothered to kill you. Hurry up and let the experts of your sect come after me. Goodbye." After saying that, James turned around and left. He had no intention of fighting at all. "Trying to escape, are you? Dream on. You better stay here," the leader shouted loudly. The aura on his body burst out with a loud bang. A wave of flame chi swept out. 7 severing divine flames. "Oh, he's so weak, but he's still trying." James frowned and muttered to himself. "It won't be long before those experts arrive. I can't waste any more time here." After saying that, the indestructible tyrannical body on James's body condensed. The blade and sword in his hand collided, and a destructive wave swept out. "Look at the sword and saber that are so strong together tenfold." The remaining experts of the Holy Flame Divine Sect felt their hearts skip a beat. Suddenly, they felt a wave of deadly aura, and their faces turned pale with fright. "This is bad! Get out of the way!" Sensing the power of this attack, these people instantly lost their desire to fight. They had reason to believe that if they were to take this attack head-on, they would either die or be seriously injured. The air tore as the destructive ripples of the saber and sword reached an extreme speed. Just as those people retreated, the blades passed through their bodies. All the trees in the surrounding hundreds of meters were broken in half. The dense red leaf forest was leveled with the ground in an instant. The men from the Holy Flame Divine Sect were suddenly quiet. Their eyes were fixed on James, and they didn't say a word. They just froze in motion like statues. James casually hung the wishful steel staff on his waist, and then he turned around and left. The moment James's figure disappeared, the faces of the men suddenly turned pale. Blood gushed out from their bodies. They were all cut into 2 pieces. They fell to the ground with a loud bang. Not long after that, when the experts of the Holy Flame Divine Sect arrived and saw the scene, they couldn't help but feel sick to their stomachs. "What a powerful sword! This is the strongest profound meaning created by the legendary human emperor of the balanced blade in sword scripture." The old man with a head full of white hair glanced at the wounds of the dead people, and then looked at the destructive force around him. His eyes shone brightly. "My seclusion was not in vain. Now I'm starting to believe that this is indeed the heir of the human emperor realm." He really didn't expect this. "This kid left the mortal leading realm and came to our small cloud heaven. He even killed people in our Holy Flame Divine Sect. He really has the guts." "Holy Light Supreme Elder, what should we do? This James Lee is unbelievable," a disciple said weakly. "What should we do?" the old man said in a flat tone. "It won't take long before the entire small cloud heaven will know about him being here. We can't hide someone as high profile as him. Send someone to inform the higher-ups. At least this news is still very relevant, and we will be able to benefit from it. But this kid escaped quickly.
Did he sense my aura? This doesn't make sense. Ask the experts of the sect to search for him while he's still in our territory. And also, bring the compass with you.
Yes, sir. James, this is a knife used to kill chickens, but you purposely created a huge commotion to attract the attention of others. The people in Small Cloud Heaven will soon know that you are here, the Alaricles said with a smile.
Nonsense. I purposely exposed my identity. But then I felt a terrifying aura approaching me. If I was entangled with it, I would die without a doubt. I'm running for my life, all right? James said, rolling his eyes. Let's not talk about it right now. Let's get out of the Holy Flame Sect's territory as soon as we can. If we're surrounded, it's over for me.
Roar!
Right at this moment, James felt a pair of small claws scratching him. It's you, little thing. I've forgotten about you. James looked at the little flame beast in the net and was delighted. He untied the net, grabbed its tail, and let it out. Consider yourself lucky you met me. You can be free. Don't let anyone catch you again, or no one will be able to save you.
Oh!
The little beast called out a few times but didn't leave. Instead, it looked at James adoringly. Of course, James couldn't understand what the guy was trying to do. He said unhappily, "What are you looking at? Can you speak to me in the human language? I can't understand what you're saying." "All right, get out of my way. I saved you because I wanted to help you. I'm not asking you to repay me. Don't block my way."
Oh! Oh!
The little beast screamed again. It bit James's pant leg and was dragged for a few feet. "My God, you beast! My pants are very expensive." He turned to the Alaricles and asked for help. "Alaricles, what did this guy say? Do you understand it? Can you translate for me?"
It said that you have a strange flame in your body. It likes it very much and wants to follow you. It even asked if you could condense some flames for it to eat,
the Alaricles said with a smile.
"This thing is quite interesting. It seems quite intelligent. Keep it. I'd love a new friend."
"What? It wants to join me?" James was stunned and said unhappily, "Does it think I'm a fool? It can't do anything with its small body. If it joins me, I'll have to feed it. I can let it join me, but what can it do? I don't want to raise it for nothing. Maybe it could wash my clothes." The little flame beast was stunned as if it heard something incredible. This man was asking for a lot.
"James, you expect it to wash your clothes?"
The Alaricles almost spat out. "I can't possibly support him for nothing in return, can I?" James said with a shrug. It was only at this moment that he finally saw the beast clearly. The flames on its bodies could be retracted. Underneath, it turned out to be a snow-white little beast. There was not a single strand of fur on its body, and it looked like a cat and a dog at the same time. It was hard to tell what it was. The most conspicuous thing was its tail. The end of the super long tail had actually grown into a triangle. It was like a cushion. It was undeniably good looking. The Alaricles translated James's words without changing anything. The little beast looked at the Alaricles curiously. It gasped a few times and looked at James with resentment. "Hey, why are you looking at me like that?" James ignored the little beast's dissatisfaction. He carefully pinched the tail, looked at the beast again, and said, "It's a female. No wonder it's so spoiled." The little beast was about to lose its mind. It thought this man was a good man after saving its life and letting it go. What a disappointment. The little beast started to whimper and scratch its tail, but James was still holding it. No matter how hard it tried, it couldn't break free. Watching James's actions, the Alaricles rolled its eyes. This was how he was treated back in the beginning as well.
"It said he's very powerful. It'll be able to help you when he grows up, and it's even willing to be your contracted spirit beast. It's also said that it's not a fire spirit beast, it's a fire-eating spirit beast."
The Alaricles' tone was strange, as it was still in shock. It turned out that it was a legendary fire-devouring spirit beast that had gone extinct. This thing mainly consumed fire energies as food. As for its ability, it was simply inauspicious. But the only thing it knew was that if this thing properly grew up, it would be a complete mess. After all, this was a legendary species extinct in the beast realm. The Alaric Lee couldn't understand why this thing was in the small cloud heaven, and it was so small. A spirit-eating flame beast. James took a deep breath and carefully sized up the little creature. What a lucky find. James had seen it in the information given by Stephen West. The legends say that the strongest version of this beast could surpass the shattering void once it reaches adulthood. The beast looked at him with disdain and pride. James put the little guy down and said with a smile, "Sure, you could stay with me from now on. You should grow up quickly too, so I can ride you like a horse." After some time, James finally completed the contract with this new fellow beast. The earlier one with the Alaric Lee was the blood contract, but the document with this little beast was an equal contract. "You bastard, how dare you look under my tail? That was so rude." The moment the contract was completed, James felt a loud explosion in his head. The unusually tender voice of the spirit-eating flame beast transmitted into James's mind, causing his head to buzz. "What the hell? You startled me." James pressed his temple. "Next time, transmit your voice to me quietly. I'm not deaf. I can hear you." "Say, why did you have to join me?" "First of all, you saved me. Second of all, you have something I need, which is the source of the fire. It's too hard to find one these days. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone with you to the Holy Flame Divine sect," the beast said frankly. "And you have the fire source. With you, I'll be able to advance quickly." "You have quite an idea." James looked at the little thing sitting on his shoulder and said, "All right, you've joined the Lee family. We have rules to follow. And I will give you a name. I will call you Kenny Lee." The Alaric Lee was about to burst into laughter. It didn't like the name at all. "How could you give me such a stupid name? My name is Kenneth Lee. Remember, Kenneth Lee." The beast bared its fangs and brandished its claws. "All right, I'll call you by your nickname, Kenny." After walking for half a day, James finally left the territory of the Holy Flame Divine sect and arrived at the main road. From afar, one could see a row of majestic carriages stretched for over 100 feet. James's eyes lit up as he watched the line of carriages. He finally met someone after a long time. He rushed forward and waved his hand to call out, "Hey, where are you going? Can you give me a ride? I'll pay, of course."
Who are you? Why are you here? We're from the Chamber of Commerce. You better be honest.
Big man pulled out his saber and walked up to James with a hostile look on his face. James blinked when he saw the heavenly human stage man and asked with surprise, "What are you talking about? What Chamber of Commerce? I'm here to ask you for directions and get a ride. What could I be dishonest about?" Although this man's carriage was indeed very old, it was sturdy enough. In the past, he wouldn't even have bothered to sit in it, but he had to admit that he didn't know the road and he didn't have any means of transportation.
You want to ride in our carriage? Dream on. The other cars are all trucks. This one belongs to Selma. Do you want to ride in the same car as her?
The man's face darkened and he said coldly,
Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Your schemes won't work. You are unworthy of sharing space with Miss Bridges. You better leave now, before I help you get lost.
James finally knew why the man was so protective. It was all because a woman. I don't even know who Selma Bridges is, all right? I have no interest in your little miss, James said calmly. Forget it. Just tell me, how do we get to the nearest city?
How do you not know where the nearest city is?
The burly man looked at James sarcastically. James really wanted to cuss him out. He had just arrived there. How could he know where he was? Besides, what about the trust between people? Didn't they know how to help each other? Enough. At this moment, a light and pleasant voice came from the carriage. He doesn't seem to be a local. Since he's lost, let's give him a ride. After all, it's a very long way to walk.
Miss, you must not,
The big man hurriedly said.
Our task is very important. We can't let anything go wrong. Otherwise, the Chamber of Commerce's reputation will be greatly damaged. Even you, miss, will be in a difficult situation. Besides, we don't know where this guy's from. God knows who he is. We can't trust him.
Hey, I don't like what you're saying. What do you mean you can't trust me? James said unhappily. I'm asking for directions. All right, I won't waste my time with you guys. Just tell me how to get to the nearest city. I'll walk there. He was interrupted by a sudden burst of wild laughter.
Look, Selma Bridges from the Chamber of Commerce of Selmaton. We've been waiting for you here. We had news that your convoy would pass by here, so now we're about to make a fortune. With so many carriages, there must be a lot of valuables, right? And there's a stunning beauty. It's my lucky day.
The third master of the Fire Wolf Gang, Xander Pole, why are you here?
The burly man cried out in alarm as his face turned deathly pale. He tightly grasped his weapon with both hands and was ready to fight. The Fire Wolf Gang was one of the major powers in Selmaton. They were notorious for their crimes. They specialized in robbing major powers such as the Chamber of Commerce. If James encountered some small-time criminals, he wouldn't have given them a second thought. But he never expected to encounter the Fire Wolf Gang here. He then looked at the dozens of people behind them, including a few heavenly human stage experts. The burly man's heart tightened. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Selma couldn't sit still any longer. She lifted the curtain of the carriage and walked out with a smile on her face. She slowly said, The third leader of the Fire Wolf Gang has waited for me. I'm flattered. But we are transporting an important package and we can't give it to you. Please forgive us. If you let us leave in peace, I will personally deliver a great gift to express my gratitude later. The young woman was wearing a blue and white dress, revealing her curvaceous figure. Her long black hair was casually hanging down her shoulders and down to her waist. A blue hairpin, decorated with crystal chains, was neatly tied in her hair. She looked very elegant. James looked at her beautiful face again. Her big eyes were lively and she wasn't wearing any makeup. It was obvious that she was a natural beauty. She's quite pretty. James smacked his lips. He looked at her carefully and nodded to comment. No wonder the third master is so greedy.
Is that so? You're not tempted?
The Alaric Lee asked with a smile. What are you talking about? How could a handsome man like me be seduced by a mere woman? James replied righteously. There are many beautiful women in this world. I can't marry all of them, and besides, I already have a wife. I can't flirt with women anymore.
I don't believe a single word you say.
The Alaric Lee sneered.
If you were self-disciplined, you wouldn't have so many girlfriends.
Nonsense, I didn't get them myself, did I? They fell in love with me. No one could blame me for that. James curled his lips and said, I won't stoop to your level. Let's watch the show first. I still don't know which way the city is, and when they're done fighting, I'll ask for directions. Fortunately, I brought some treats from my hometown when I left. I filled a few storage rings, so I don't have to worry about having nothing to eat. As he spoke, James swaggered towards the ground under everyone's gaze. He laid a piece of cloth on the table, took out 2 plates of melons and peanuts. He added the cucumbers and carrots from the National Superpower Bureau and added some seasoning. He took out a bottle of beer and started drinking it in front of everyone. Originally, the two sides were locked in and there was no negotiation at all, while a fight was about to break out. When they saw the scene in front of them, they stared at the boss with their eyes wide open. They felt baffled, as they had no idea what this kid was. Didn't you see they were going to fight a war? Why were they eating here? Besides, they had never seen this food before. While Selma's heart was heavy, she looked at James curiously. She also didn't know what he wanted to do. Originally, this had nothing to do with James, but why was that guy not walking here? Sensing the gazes of the crowd, James was startled. He rubbed his head and said with a smile, "Don't worry about me when you hit me. Just pretend that I don't exist." "Kid, I don't care who you are. You better not get involved in today's matter. And you better get lost before I get angry. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave for a while." Xander looked at James coldly and said with an unfriendly expression. Back in the day, he would have already swung his blade at James, but this matter was especially important to the Fire Wolf Gang, and they couldn't afford to lose it. Besides, he wasn't an idiot. If this guy wasn't an idiot, he wouldn't have dared to sit here and eat. He was definitely an expert who had nothing to fear. Although he wasn't afraid, he didn't want to stir up any unnecessary trouble. "I can come and go wherever I want. What's there to be late for? You guys are fighting here. Am I not allowed to eat here? Don't tell me this road belongs to your family." James rolled his eyes. "If you want to fight, then fight. I'll just wait to watch the show." "I hope you will just watch. If you dare to join in, I will show you real cruelty." Xander looked at James coldly and turned his eyes to Selma. He grinned hideously. "Beautiful, Selma. You can have these things if you want. Just ask me nicely and I'll let you go this time. What do you think? If not, then I'm sorry. I'll take your things and your people too." They said that Selma of Selmaton was the most famous in the entire country of Tianjin, and even in the entire Fengriland Empire. "Today, I will see if she's worthy of her name." "You're shameless." Selma was filled with anger. "Xander, you better withdraw today or you'll see what I'm capable of. The Tianjin Merchant is one of the top chambers of commerce in the entire Fengriland Empire. It's not like there aren't any ninth layer of heavenly human siege experts in the Chamber of Commerce. This isn't something that a mere Fire Wolf Gang like you can touch." "Oh, Selma, what you said is really funny." Xander laughed wildly and said, "Yes, our Fire Wolf Gang is nothing in front of your Chamber of Commerce. But do you think you're its master? You're only in charge of a small branch of the Chamber of Commerce of Tianjin. What does that count as? If Fire Wolf Gang does not have anyone to support us, do we really dare to touch you? Heh. Seems like your Chamber of Commerce has no one to back you up." "What?" The burly man's heart was racing. He immediately thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. He shouted, "You should leave now. We will stop them. Their main target is you." "You want to leave? It's too late." Xander grinned hideously. He moved in a flash and appeared in front of the burly man. He slashed down with his blade. "Look at my heavenly wolf saber technique." "This is not good." The man swung his saber to defend himself, but Xander was a third layer of heavenly human sage expert, and he was only a second layer. In just a single exchange, he was sent flying by his opponent's saber. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, looking shocked. He knew that there was an indelible gap between a second heaven and a third heaven, but he never thought that the gap would be so huge between them. He couldn't even withstand a single strike from the opponent and was severely injured. "As the daughter of the president of the Chamber of Commerce, you don't even have an expert by your side. What a pity," Xander said with an evil grin. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Selma. "Since that's the case, let me get closer to you." "Shameless brat, how dare you!" A few first layer of heavenly human stage experts besides Selma attacked Xander. "The light of a firefly dares to compete with the bright moon," Xander sneered with disdain. He snapped his fingers, and the three men were sent flying and fell to the ground with serious injuries. Selma's eyes were filled with rage. She held a crystal clear whip tightly in her hand and swept it towards Xander. "Oh, not bad, not bad.
This is a 20-year-old peak great grandmaster stage. Selma, your talent is very strong. After all, everyone knows that you're the one who mainly cultivates in the art of alchemy. It isn't easy for her to reach such a level of her cultivation.
Xander smiled lightly. He grabbed the other end of the whip. With a sudden pull, he brought Selma over.
What?
Selma cried out in shock. Her face turned pale and she panicked. As an alchemist, she was not good at fighting. Besides, her opponent was a third layer of heavenly human stage. Seeing Xander looking at her with an evil expression, Selma felt ashamed and resentful. Suddenly, she thought of something and looked at James with a begging face.
Sir, save me. If you do, I'll do whatever you need.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. James rubbed his chin and rushed towards her.
Wow, that was fast.
Xander's face stiffened and his pupils shrank. As she was in James's arms, Selma's heart suddenly sped up and her pretty face blushed. But she was overjoyed to have been rescued. This person was an unmatched expert. Selma pulled away from James and said seriously,
It's time you get rid of these people.
Get rid of them? James narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, All right, as you wish. Tell me what I should do with these people. Should we cripple them? Or kill them? I'll do as you ask. As soon as he said that, Selma felt ashamed and resentful. She felt like there was nothing she could do. She knew she was a beauty. Perhaps James had chased the wolf away, but was he an even stronger beast? After she got rid of anxiety, Selma's pretty face turned cold and she yelled,
Since they've done that, they have to pay the price. Spare Xander, kill the others. As for this man, cripple his energy center. Let him know the pain of not having the strength.
Good Selma, what a sinister woman with a poisonous heart.
Xander's face turned cold. He stared at James and said in a hostile tone,
Kid, I've given you a chance to live. You want to save the damsel in distress, right? Then you will have to pay the price with your life. It's not so easy to save a beauty.
The only thing he cared about was the kid in front of him. This guy was the biggest hidden danger. I have no choice. I don't want to save her either, but she promised me that she would do something for me, James said with a smile. There are many things that can't be forced, so my resources are bigger than yours. For example, you're only capable of shady business. How vulgar. But I'm different. My ways are way more elegant. It's a pity that you're going to die, or I could teach you properly. As soon as he said that, Selma felt ashamed and resentful. No matter how she looked at it, this guy was a hooligan.
Contain your friend.
Xander was furious. He flew up and swung his knife at James.
Little bastard, you're playing with fire. Skywolf blade art. Howling moon, scarlet slash.
The saber slashed down like a blood moon shining with a blood-red luster. It slashed out, and wherever it went, cracks would appear on the ground. It carried an extremely strong corrosive aura. Selma quickly retreated, feeling nervous. Xander was a genuine third layer of heavenly human stage expert. Was this guy a match for him? She could clearly feel that this man in front of her might not be older than her. He was so young. Unless he was the strongest disciple of that super large sect, he wouldn't have had the strength of a third layer of heavenly human stage. A mixed dark element. James looked at Xander's attack with indifference. He stretched out his hand and formed 7 big words. They merged together. Then he forcefully slapped Xander. 9-character mantra, 7 words as one.
What? Fire strength?
Xander cried out in shock. He felt his scalp go numb. He immediately used 120 points of strength and forcefully circulated the genuine chi to slash out again. He did not doubt that if he didn't use his full strength, he would be seriously injured. The power of this flame was extremely effective against his dark attributes. A loud sound was heard, and a violent explosion erupted in front of Xander. Countless flames swept out. Sensing the intense explosion, Xander was startled. He hastily circulated the genuine chi to condense the attribute armor, but it was still suppressed by James's fire strength, causing him to cough up blood due to severe injuries. Xander staggered and flew backwards, trying to avoid the spreading of the flames. "It's useless. You can't escape. If you had other attributes, you'd still have a chance, but I suppressed your darkness attribute. The outcome is already decided. In order to let you lose with a little more honor, I'll test out the moves I've recently developed." James smiled faintly and stretched out his hand. The flames that burst out instantly condensed into countless flame pillars, forming a sealed space that completely trapped Xander within. Flame cage. Flaming storm. With a soft shout, James clenched his fist. A huge explosion occurred within the flame cage. The power of wind and fire intertwined together, creating a storm that swept across the area with a radius of dozens of feet. Everyone's faces changed, and they quickly retreated. "Oh, he's so strong. He connected so many different moves perfectly. He's a genius. This person's calculations are terrifying and his combat experience is far beyond my understanding." The big man behind Selma was in shock. He felt lucky that this genius didn't slap him to death. Selma watched James's every move in awe. By the time the flames disappeared, Xander was lying on the ground. His body was charred, and he smelt of barbecued meat. Blood kept flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at James weakly, his eyes filled with fear. He'd seen powerful people before, but he'd never seen such a terrifying person. The technique was too strange, and the flame had been comprehended to a very high level. He was completely suppressed, completely unable to defend himself. "This one has been dealt with already." James smiled faintly and said, "He doesn't have any combat strength left. Don't worry, I fulfilled my promise and didn't kill him, but if he isn't treated in time, I'm afraid he won't live for much more than 2 months. Of course, this is only half the work, but as for the other half..." Before he could finish his words, James' gaze had already turned to the dozens of people Xander had brought with him. He was sizing up those people from head to toe, smiling casually. Sensing his gaze, the Heavenly Wolfgang couldn't help but shiver. They looked very scared. Their third master and third layer of Heavenly Human Siege experts didn't even last 10 seconds before they were crippled. "Don't kill me! I surrender! I surrender!" Finally, someone couldn't hold it in anymore. But before he could finish saying that, he felt his throat blocked by something. He couldn't say another word. A stream of blood flowed out from his neck. "There are no such words as surrender in my dictionary. Besides, I hate traitors. If you can die bravely, I will respect you as a man, but you're just a coward," James said indifferently. The ice piece in his hand slowly disappeared. All of the experts of the Heavenly Wolfgang were killed, and not a single one of them was left alive. When they saw the scene in front of them, the people behind Selma couldn't help but gulp. They looked at James with the utmost respect. In the small cloud heaven, they respected the strong, especially those who were so powerful that they made people's hair stand on end. "All right, everything's been resolved. Selma, shouldn't you fulfill your promise?" After withdrawing his hand, James couldn't help but grin. His meaningful gaze turned towards Selma. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat. The death of Xander and the others was a good thing, but the biggest problem was how to fool this man in front of her. Most importantly, his strength was incomparable to those of Xander's generation. She couldn't see through him at all. Selma forced a smile, bowed, and said, "Sir, you're indeed powerful. I'm very impressed. After we all get back safely, I'll repay you with a great gift." "A great gift?" James smiled playfully. "This wasn't the agreement we made, was it? Besides, I don't think you can offer a gift great enough. You're someone who keeps her promise, aren't you?" Selma's heart was stifled as she said in a deep voice, "Of course, I will keep my word." The burly man on Selma's side couldn't bear to watch any longer. He stood up and said,
Sir, isn't this a little too much? If you take her hostage, what kind of hero are you?
Why should I be a hero? James asked him back. What about you? Do you consider yourself a hero?
I'm a good man and I won't bully others with my power,
the big man said proudly. Good. You're very domineering, James sneered and said coldly. Since you're so great, I'll ask you for directions. What is with your attitude? Is this what you meant when you said you won't bully others with your power? Besides, what did I do wrong? Remember, it was Selma who was begging me to help. Without me here, you'd all be dead now. So don't start complaining now. If you cannot fulfill your promise, people will think that you don't keep your word. Leslie's face turned red from shock. He felt ashamed and didn't say anything else. Indeed, he didn't treat this guy well earlier, and it wasn't that James was threatening him. It was Selma who said it herself. Enough. Leslie, he's right. If I don't stick by my words, how can I win over people's trust? How could I take charge of the chambers of commerce? Selma's eyes dimmed for a moment. She looked at James and smiled formally. She said, Sir, please tell me. What do you need? If you make a request, I will see that it's fulfilled. Can you really do anything? He narrowed his eyes and looked Selma up and down. Her voice slightly trembled. Yes, anything. James stared at her and said faintly, Okay. Although I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, I still think I'm pretty enough. I have countless suitors. Selma stared at James with her beautiful eyes and said stubbornly, Or are you maybe of another opinion? So you're quite narcissistic, James sneered. He said casually, Yes, I have to admit, you're not bad looking, but compared to my dozens of girlfriends, you could be better. Don't think that just because I'm a man, I'll get lost in your beauty. Don't worry. All right, enough with this nonsense. Do you still have any horses left? Give me one. Tell me the road to the nearest city. I'll go by myself. He hated this kind of self-righteous woman the most, expecting everyone to crazily chase after her. He wondered where she got the entitlement from. He had to admit that Selma was indeed beautiful, but she was only as much as Lily. Compared to his wife, she was still subpar. To him, his favorite wife was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life. You really only want me to show you the way? Selma was stunned. She was filled with shame and anger, but still couldn't suppress the shock. Was she really overthinking too much? Did he really not think much of her? But noticing his impatience, Selma confirmed that James really didn't take her seriously. He barely looked at her the entire time. She was happy that the stranger was only asking for directions, but she was angry that he ignored her beauty. All right, now that we're done, let's go, shall we? James asked as he watched her face change. Sure. Selma quickly came back to her senses. Her pretty face turned slightly red as she said, If you don't mind, please join me in my carriage. Those horses are Leslie's mounts, so there is not much extra. Selma heaved a sigh of relief, but she still didn't feel right. As a woman, this was the first time she had been ignored. No one objected to Selma this time. Even Leslie didn't say anything. He looked at James with respect. Putting everything else aside, just his boldness alone was not something he had. Everyone thought that this guy saved Selma because she was a pretty young woman. They didn't expect that he wouldn't take a fancy to Selma at all. Are we going to ride in the same car? Great. But remember, I'm a gentleman. Don't get any ideas, James said in a serious tone. Selma didn't know what to say. She was about to burst with anger. The other men were all trying to make her smile. They always agreed with her and pretended to be gallant. But this guy was a real hooligan. Yet, somehow, he didn't even make her hate him. A few minutes later, James and Selma sat in the same carriage and took off. After her explanation, James understood some things. There was a city a few hundred miles away. It was named after Selma, and it was called Selmaton. It was a medium-sized city in Tianjin country. Selma didn't explain why it was named after her, but James was very surprised to learn that this woman was actually a profound pill master. Isn't your Chamber of Commerce a merchant association? Why did you go and concoct pills? James asked, casually leaning against the palanquin. Selma smiled bitterly. At the end of the day, there's a limit to what you can achieve. In the Chamber of Commerce, it depends on the individual's ability. But Profound Pillmaster is indeed too weak. The people he serves are all below the heavenly human stage. Their status is very ordinary. They aren't at the Earth Pillmaster level. At the end of the day, they don't have any status at all. Seems like you aren't doing well in the Chamber of Commerce, huh? James said with a smile. But what is the purpose of the Alchemist Association audition? Aren't they going to recruit new people? Or is it that some elders of theirs want to take in some disciples? Are you from Mars? How do you not know about such a big thing in the world? Selma stared at James with her beautiful eyes in disbelief and then said, This is the order given by President McGreeve of the Alchemist Association in the Refining Holy Land. The alchemists of the 4 kingdoms are all in charge of selecting a group of young geniuses. Those who are under 100 years old will have to compete with the beasts. If one is selected by the people of the Alchemist Association, they would have the chance to become one of their disciples. Oh, I see. So it's about the provocation of the alchemist of the beast race. James was struck by a sudden realization. But I heard that the strongest alchemist among the beasts is Heavenly Pillmaster, right? His skill in alchemy has reached the acme of perfection. There should be no one else in the entire small cloud heaven other than the 9 heavenly pillmasters from the refining Holy Land who could fight him, right? Even if there was a hidden heavenly pillmaster in this world, if the president of the Alchemist Association can't defeat him, then the rest of the people will be useless, right? I said it was impossible that you wouldn't know about such a big thing. Selma smiled, and then explained, Apart from the strongest genius of the beast race, called Gareth Stonewall, there's no other person who could defeat him. Of course, we can't compare ourselves to Gareth, but we can compare ourselves to those young geniuses. If there really is a chance to become the disciple of the top figures in the world of alchemy, it would be good, Selma said with yearning in her eyes. Besides Gareth, there's also the younger generation, James smiled lightly. If the older generation is defeated by Gareth and the younger generation can't defeat him, it'll be interesting. How is that possible? Selma said. Refining the Holy Land is the most sacred place in our world. Alchemists, artifact refining masters, and even formation masters are the strongest here. How could they not be a match for the beast race? Is that so? You only saw one thing, but not the other. James shook his head and smiled. If those people from Refining Holy Land are really confident, why do they need to organize an audition here? Are you perhaps stronger than the geniuses in the Refining Holy Land? Or do you think that you're stronger than their disciples? If I can understand the selection of the young generation, why are they looking for a heavenly pillmaster? Are they counting on the heavenly pillmaster to be stronger than them in the outside world? There can only be one possibility. That is, they don't have the confidence. Similarly, at the heavenly pillmaster level, the president of the Alchemists Grandmaster Association would never make a move. If he loses, the last line of defense of the human race will be destroyed and the prestige of the Refining Holy Land will be lost. It would be a fatal blow to everyone in the small cloud heaven. Selma took a deep breath, and her face changed. The more she thought about it, the more James's words made sense. Wouldn't this be a crisis for small cloud heaven? After all, the beast race was an outsider race. Think about it carefully. James smiled and said, How much time until the audition ends? Aren't you going to participate? I do want to go, but I'm afraid I won't pass. Selma smiled bitterly. The audition will end in a week. The rules are very simple. They only have 2 requirements. First, you have to reach a profound pillmaster's level within 100 years. Second, you have to refine a profound pill within 6 hours. The amount of medicinal herbs consumed can't exceed 3 portions. Although I'm a profound pill master, I'm merely a beginner. Refining a profound pill requires a lot of effort, and it takes a long time for a person to enter that state of mind. It's virtually impossible for me to refine a profound pill within that short amount of time. Selma sighed with disappointment. Getting a chance at the audition was also the reason why Selma personally transported this convoy. If she successfully completed this mission and let that person introduce an Earth Pill Master to her, she was confident that she would be able to advance by leaps and bounds. To refine a profound pill in 6 hours? That's plenty of time. James was stunned. Plenty? That's not nearly enough. You don't understand pills, so don't talk nonsense. Selma's mouth twitched slightly as she said, if an alchemist is above the profound pill master's great achievement level, it might not be very difficult for them. But to an alchemist at the beginner stage, it's as hard as ascending to heaven. No one can concoct a profound pill within 6 hours. After all, this wasn't the refining Holy Land. More than 99% of the people here didn't have a profound teacher to guide them. Besides, the age limit was below 100 years old, so they didn't have much experience in alchemy. It's very difficult to deal with all kinds of unexpected situations. I don't understand pills. James rolled his eyes. Even if Mr. McGray from the Alchemist Association was here, he would never dare to say that to James. But he couldn't be bothered to argue with her about such a small matter. He understood what she meant. When he was in the Eastern Sea region, Dorian competed with him for 6 hours. He was a genuine, great achievement level alchemist, and it took him 5.5 hours to concoct the Meridian pill. The success rate was less than 40%. It was indeed not easy to get a beginner alchemist like Profound Pill Master to concoct that pill. If he couldn't even concoct the Profound Pill, what was he good for? Could he win this competition?
James, this is a great opportunity for you to become famous in Small Cloud Heaven. With your skill in alchemy, you should go and torture the beast race's genius,
the Alaric Lee said with a smile. Forget it. I want to live for a few more years, James replied. If I win a competition with Gareth Stonewall, these people will definitely come after me. I wouldn't be able to escape. Besides, I still don't know what these people's attitudes are in the refining Holy Land. If they really want to protect me, I have a chance to try. Otherwise, let them do whatever they want. I don't want to die. Worst comes to worst, when I'm leveled up, I'll go to the Beast Realm and torture them to return the favor. Now I'm just at the first layer of the heavenly human stage. Why should I care about all the lives in the world?
You're right,
the Alaric Lee sighed. At this moment, Kenny, who was hiding in James's arms, scoffed. I used to live in the Beast territory and saw that Gareth. His skill in alchemy has already reached the acme of perfection. No one in your human refining Holy Land is a match for him, not even the president of your alchemist union. And you want to compete with him in alchemy? Oh, Kenny, you said you've seen that Gareth guy, huh? James was surprised. He said with a faint smile, You've seen him concoct pills, but you've never seen me do it. How do you know that I'm not his match? Anyway, let them do as they wish. I don't care about anything else. I'll just let it be for now, one day at a time. I need to improve my strength as soon as possible and then proceed to the refining Holy Land. I still want to join in on the excitement. James, I'm warning you not to call me Kenny again, Kenny said unhappily. Okay, Kenny. James nodded. Kenny was speechless. A few days later, they finally arrived at Selmaton. The majestic city's gates were inscribed with the large characters Selmaton. It was clearly the work of a masterful painter. Seeing Selma return, the soldiers quickly opened the city gate. Selma entered the city as if she owned the place. Along the way, there was a hubbub of voices. All kinds of people selling things and all kinds of shouting could be heard to no end. James was dazzled by what he saw. He had to admit that this small cloud heaven was indeed different from the human world, and the gap between them was huge. Looking around, he could see the very expensive nature attribute fruits being sold on the streets. If it were the experts and enrolled cultivators from America, they would drool when they saw the dazzling treasures. James understood why every single person in the small cloud heaven was a cultivator. It was just too easy. All kinds of resources were available. If one wasn't an idiot, they could easily reach the grandmaster stage. Even a hot dog vendor was an innate stage expert. Every other person here is an innate expert. Grandmaster warriors are everywhere too. James couldn't help but sigh to himself. James, quick, there are so many fruits. Go and find me some fire essence fruits. I want to eat them. Kenny came out of James's sleeve, drooling. Didn't I give you the fire of holy flames I condensed? What else do you want to eat? James rolled his eyes. That was good, but it was a little heavy. You just need to eat less during the day. This fire essence fruit is very useful to me. Can you steal some for me to eat? Kenny said longingly. If I have good food, I'll grow faster, right? It will also be more useful to you. In the past, I didn't dare to come to this busy city. This is my first time coming here openly. I didn't expect there to be so many good things here. Oh, you have a cute little pet. Can I touch it? Selma was pleasantly surprised when she saw Kenny come out and look cute. She was about to reach out her hand. Oh. Kenny instantly exploded. He gave Selma a fierce look. I'm not a pet. I'm the noblest fire-eating spirit beast. Show me some respect. Hell, it doesn't like strangers. James knew what Kenny was thinking. He said, since I'm finally here, I should go buy some things. We will meet again someday, miss. You're leaving? Selma was stunned. I haven't properly thanked you yet. Why are you leaving so soon? What do you need to buy? Let me buy it for you. Selma pulled James out of the carriage and walked towards the center of the market. He didn't hold back from Selma's enthusiasm. He thought about it and said, I want to buy some fire essence fruits. The more, the better. Also, can you give me a complete map of small cloud heaven? It would be of great use. A complete map? Normally, ordinary people can't get one. But to me, it won't be a problem. I have one with me right now. I can give it to you. Selma smiled and said, as for the fire essence fruits, they are easy to get, but compared to the other fire essence fruits, they are relatively rare. I can't get too many of them at short notice. There are about 20 of them here. I'll send someone to buy them. Do you think that would be enough? Well, if you need anything else, just say it. 20? James widened his eyes in shock. Fine, that's good enough. As for the rest, I'll look around myself and see if there are any rare medicinal herbs. I'll buy some for you to use later. Sure, Selma said casually. Since I'm here anyway, I'll come with you. Just let Leslie and the others take the things back. With me accompanying you, you should be safe. Miss, you're not hoping for anything, are you? James looked at Selma seriously. I have a wife. Don't make it awkward. Awkward? Selma stumbled and her face turned red. What are you talking about? I just want to repay you for saving my life. Why do you have to exaggerate everything? All right. Forgotten all about it, and you should too. You've already repaid me by bringing me here. We're even, James said indifferently. Selma's heart skipped a beat. This guy. Why did it seem like he was in such a hurry to cut her off? Was she that annoying? At this moment, an excited voice came from afar. Hey, Miss Bridges. What a coincidence to meet you here. Didn't you personally escort the goods? When did you come back? Why didn't you tell me so that I could meet you? James looked over and saw a handsome man and a few people walking towards them. This man was wearing a white, spotless alchemy uniform and an octagonal hat. His smile was confident and domineering. Selma's face slightly stiffened when she saw this person. She forced a smile and said, Hello, Miles. How have you been? How's Mr. Schofield doing? I've been great. My grandfather is in good health. Thanks for your concern, Miles said with a smile. He turned to James and said without batting an eye, "Miss Bridges, will you introduce your friend to me? Is this the latest admirer of yours? You should stick to me instead. I'll protect you better than anyone else can." "But your admirer doesn't understand the rules. Doesn't he know that you should stand behind your lady? He doesn't know how to greet people when he sees them. Who does he think he is? Well, looks like he needs me to teach him a lesson, huh?" Selma's heart shivered when she heard Miles' unfriendly tone. She hurriedly explained, "This is a friend of mine, not an admirer. You misunderstood." "Oh, a friend." Miles looked at James with a fake smile and said condescendingly, "I don't know where this friend came from. He looks very unfamiliar. He's not a local, is he?" James thought to himself, how could he not know what this fellow was thinking? Ignoring Miles, he turned to Selma and asked sarcastically, "Selma, may I ask, who is this pig? And why is he being nasty? Are the people here so uncultured?" The corner of Selma's mouth twitched slightly as she explained, "This is a grandson of a branch leader of Selma Tin's Alchemist Association in Tianjin Country, Miles Schofield. His grandfather, Mr. Harold Schofield, is also the most famous Earth Pill Master here." "Oh, Grandpa's an Earth Pill Master. No wonder he's so arrogant." James shook his head. "I thought he was some big shot, but it turns out he isn't. His grandpa's just a mere Earth Pill Master." "How dare you? Boy, do you know who you're talking to? How dare you insult an Earth Pill Master? You're playing with fire." Miles was livid. He pointed his finger at James. "You better apologize to me before I get angrier, and then get out of my sight, or I'm not responsible for what I do to you." "You psycho." James curled his lips and said in a flat tone, "Just a mere Earth Pill Master. As if that's impressive. If the president of the Alchemist Association were here, he'd agree with me. Where did you get that sense of superiority from? If you like this young lady, Selma, then ask her out. As a man, don't use such dirty tricks. It's childish. Selma, you can chat with him. I'll just walk around by myself." "I'm fine. I have nothing to do with him. I'll do what I promised you." Hearing that James was about to leave, Selma felt anxious. She said to Miles, "Mr. Schofield, I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't stay. I will pay Mr. Schofield a visit later." After saying that, she pulled James's hand and was about to leave. Miles' face turned ashen. He clenched his fist so tightly that his joints cracked. He was about to explode from anger. Who does this guy think he is? How dare he boast so shamelessly? And the worst part is he's holding his crush's hand. "Selma, you should think twice before you choose this guy. Don't you want my grandfather to guide you in alchemy?" Miles said coldly. "Let me tell you this. If you dare to take a step away, even if you gather all the materials my grandfather wants, he will not accept you as his disciple. You won't qualify to enter the audition. This will be the end of your career." Miles was full of confidence as the corner of his mouth revealed a cruel sneer. With this weakness, he believed that Selma would be obedient. Initially, he wanted to flirt with her and not threaten her, but now it seemed like she didn't appreciate his kindness. Selma's delicate body suddenly shivered, and her face turned pale. The reason why she had taken such a huge risk to gather and transport the goods was to satisfy Mr. Schofield and become his disciple. If Miles schemed against her, then all of this would have been for nothing. If she missed the opportunity, she would have never had another chance again. Besides, no other Earth Pill Master would accept her as their disciple. He saw Selma stop in her tracks. A satisfied smile appeared on Miles' face. His face relaxed, and he said happily, "Selma Bridges, you should know my feelings for you. If you agree to become my girlfriend, I'll let my grandfather teach you alchemy. After all, we're a family, and this is how it should be, am I right? You're a smart woman. You should know what I mean. Besides, apart from reaching the refining Holy Land, what better Earth Pill Master is out there? Do you think that anyone else will accept you? Make a wise choice and save a lot of energy. Your status in the Chamber of Commerce will also rise quickly, and an Earth Pill Master great achievement level will be your backer.
You should know how important that is, right?
What? An Earth Pill Master grade achievement level? Has Mr. Schofield broken through that far? Selma exclaimed, and her face turned even paler. She knew very well what this new level meant. It was a power that far exceeded the Earth Pill Master beginning, and he was now one of the top figures in the world. Even a 7th layer of Heavenly Human Stage high rank would have to be polite when facing a great achievement level Earth Pill Master. If the old man really broke through, she couldn't afford to provoke him. Of course, Miles said proudly. My grandfather has successfully broken through to the great achievement level Earth Pill Master a few days ago. You should know what that means. That's why you have to think about it carefully. Even the headquarters of the Chamber of Commerce aren't willing to offend a great pill master, not to mention you. As for your current position in the Chamber of Commerce, well, if you have the support of my grandfather, you can at least be on par with those people. I'll give you 1 minute. Think about it carefully. Marrying me won't bring disgrace to your reputation, and besides, is there anyone else who is worthy of you on this side? Selma fell silent. At that moment, her mind was completely blank, and she didn't know what to do. If she didn't accept, he would take offense. With Mr. Schofield's love for Miles, he would suppress her to death. In fact, she wouldn't even have a place to stay in Selmaton. But how could she be willing to accept it? She wasn't the kind of woman who would betray herself for profit. She just couldn't do it. As Selma felt helpless and hesitant, a large hand tightly held her small hand, making her feel at ease. He's just a mere Earth Pill Master. There's no reason for you to fawn over him. I wonder why he thinks he's all high and mighty. Is an Earth Pill Master really that powerful? James said in a flat tone. A man's path is endless. Even if you reach a high level, you won't be satisfied. You'll always want to reach a higher one. So don't make it your entire personality. There's no glory in achieving a high level if you have no dignity. You're a strong and independent woman. You have your own pride. If you want to marry, you can have countless young elite bachelors to choose from, and you don't need this trash who relies on his grandfather's name. Life is short. It's over in the blink of an eye. One thing is certain, you can't live as happily if you don't live your own life. James looked at Selma with encouragement. Her heart warmed as she regained her composure. She looked at Miles and said softly, Mr. Schofield, I appreciate your good intentions. Since your grandfather is an Earth Pill Master and has a prominent status, my willowy appearance really isn't good enough for you, so let's just forget about it. Although I really want to improve my alchemy skills, and I want to pass that audition, I'm not yet looking for marriage. I hope that Mr. Schofield won't disturb me anymore. Thank you. After saying that, Selma was relieved. She felt that the heavy burden had disappeared. Holding James's hand tightly, Selma smiled sweetly at him. She had an indescribable charm. Let's go. I'll take you shopping. I'll treat you. Miles watched the two of them leave. The smile on his face, so confident a minute ago, suddenly froze. He was in disbelief. Selma, you can't do this. Do you understand the consequences of this? Don't you want to keep your branch in the Chamber of Commerce in Selmaton? It's up to you. Selma didn't even turn her head. She said, It's just money. If you want to attack, then go ahead. No one will stop you. You can deal with me. But you can't make the Chamber of Commerce go bankrupt. If you try, then even your grandfather would suffer. So since I'm not interested in fame and wealth, you can't threaten me. After saying that, Selma and James left. Miles was so angry that his whole body trembled. That bastard, that stupid witch who doesn't know how to appreciate favors. She's acting high and mighty in front of me, but was happy to walk away with that pretty boy. Watch what I'll do to him. And then we'll see how you change your tune. Along the way, Selma was as cheerful as a songbird. She was bouncing and skipping, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone in the city knew Selma. They saw her walking, holding hands with a man, and they were so intimate with each other. All the men looked at James with envy. Selma was very popular. "You look very happy," James said, smiling. "Thank you." Selma smiled and said casually, "I always wanted to work hard to prove myself and get the recognition of my family. But your words woke me up. I pursue these things for material status. At the end of the day, what's the point? It's because I pursued these things that I had so many doubts. Most of the time, I compromised and sought fulfillment in order to cater to everyone. But after I thought about it, everything became much clearer. Just as you said, even if I manage the Chamber of Commerce, that won't make me happy. It's better to be free and happy." "Your personality is so free and easy." James looked at Selma in surprise and said, "There are not many people who can think like you, especially among the big families and major powers where the competition is so intense. If you hated fights, you might as well just give up. Then you would disappear from your carefree life. Often, even if you don't want to fight for status or wealth, those people won't let you go. This is the reality." James sighed as he recalled his fight for the leading position in the Lee family. He really didn't have the intention to become the leader, but the others didn't believe him and wouldn't let him be. "Maybe," Selma nodded slightly and said, "but let's take it one step at a time. If they go too far, I will disappear from their view. Although I like to manage the Chamber of Commerce, I really don't like this scheme. It's too tiring. However, after I leave, those people from the Chamber of Commerce won't just settle down. Besides the others, Miles has always been a problem. He will never let it rest." At this point, Selma's eyes dimmed slightly. James knew that he'd been stopped by the Heavenly Wolf Gang on the way. He knew that it was the other people from the Chamber of Commerce who were targeting him. As for the older Mr. Schofield, who's a great achievement level Earth Pill Master, just thinking about it gave him a headache. Actually, this is just a matter of perspective. The corner of James's mouth rose slightly and he said faintly, "If you want, I can help you once. Even if you don't need to beg any Earth Pill Masters, I can still let you pass the audition. A mere Earth Pill Master is nothing. You'll understand it later. So do you want to pass the audition or not?" The corner of James's mouth curled into a curious smile. "What? You can let me pass the audition? Do you have some kind of connection with the God-refining Holy Land that you can open a back door for me?" Selma was slightly stunned. She blinked her big eyes and looked at James curiously. James said, "I'm just saying, you get what you need without working and relying on your connections. Even if you enter the auditions, what's the point? You won't be able to continue. Next time you'll be exposed, and because you'll be worried about being exposed, you'll constantly feel anxious. This is a competition with the beast race, so how could you rely on your own connections? The leaders there are very strict." James said righteously, "I'm just saying that I will help you increase your pill's ability. Don't think that you're wrong. If you want to participate in the audition, I'll teach you how to concoct profound pills. You'll have it down within a few days." "You're an alchemist? Are you an Earth Pill Master?" Selma excitedly exclaimed as she looked at James in disbelief. When she thought of his powerful strength of flame, she'd started to believe that James was an Earth Pill Master. But he was younger than her. If he really was an Earth Pill Master, it would be unbelievable. "I'm not an Earth Pill Master," James said, shaking his head. Then you're a peak Earth Pill Master?" Selma asked expectantly. "No." James rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, "Do you think so lowly of me? Or do you only know those types of masters? Is there no one above that?" "Impossible. There are only a few heavenly pill masters in this world. Don't lie to me that you're a heavenly pill master," Selma said in disbelief. "Forget it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I know enough to teach you." James was too lazy to explain and smiled. "If you want, I can teach you." it'll be easier to pass the audition. James had a good impression of Selma. At least when he asked for directions, she was very friendly, and she had a good temper and knew how to repay favors. In any case, he had nothing else to do right now, so he might as well help. There was no other way. The God-refining Holy Land is not a place that ordinary people can enter. There is a strict inspection to enter the God-refining Holy Land. He couldn't enter the Holy Land or his identity would be exposed. The only choice he had was to follow a participant and hide his identity. And Selma was very suitable for that purpose. There were still a few months left before the competition, so he should stroll around for a while and find some opportunities to increase his strength. They strolled around the market as they talked and bought a bunch of medicinal herbs. James got himself a few he wanted to use, and the rest were for Selma. But the two of them didn't know that a pair of eyes were staring at them from behind a corner. Heavenly Lake Country is a beautiful building.
Mr. Bridges, Selma has been very active recently. The thing she does makes no sense.
A middle-aged man said respectfully to a young man in a purple robe.
Initially, she had tried her best to save up enough resources, but she ended up falling out with Miles because of a strange guy. It's very strange.
Oh, a strange guy. Selma is very aloof. She's not the kind of person to act impulsively. The young man smiled faintly and said, Our family's in charge of the entire Chamber of Commerce. We can't fall into the hands of a woman. That would be a disgrace. As for the guy, look into him and find out all you can about the 18 generations of his ancestors. If my guess is correct, the annihilation of the heavenly wolf gang that was sent last time might have something to do with that kid. At the same time, contact Miles for me. The enemy of the enemy is a friend. We could potentially work together. Also, news has been sent from the Holy Flame Divine sect. They said that the human Emperor heir has arrived in Small Cloud Heaven, and the large sect in the east of Small Cloud Heaven has already made their move. We can't fall behind either. I've already printed out his profile picture. Send it to everyone so they can keep an eye out. If you find him, inform me immediately. I'll have the Chamber of Commerce send out our experts to capture him. The young man handed a photo to the middle-aged man. When he saw the man in the photo, the older man's heart skipped a beat and his face turned pale. He cried out, I have seen this guy before. He's the one seen with Selma. Is he the heir to the human emperor? How is that possible? What? Are you sure? The young man stared back in shock. I'm sure. The person in the photo is that guy. The young man took a deep breath. Selma's with him. Does she know who he is? What is she doing? Is she openly supporting the human emperor's heir? Does she want to use his power? But if the heir just came from the mortal leading realm, he can't have that much strength. Selma wouldn't be so stupid as to go against the people of this world. But what is the reason behind this? Mr. Bridges, what should we do now? The middle-aged man asked, gulping. He didn't know what to do with the human emperor's heir. Henry Bridges took a deep breath and said in a low voice, This must be kept a secret. No one can know about this. This is our chance. I will inform the headquarters of the Chamber of Commerce. Send someone to keep an eye on that brat right away. Also, send experts to test that guy's strength, but don't expose our objective. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, in the human world, Ashley panicked. It's bad. James is gone. I told you that his recent actions were very strange. He's traveled the world his whole life, but now he suddenly disappeared. What? James is missing? How is that possible? Joyce cried out in shock. Didn't I ask you to follow him? When did you lose him? I've already sent a message to Small Cloud Heaven. What should we do now? Ashley's face was red. James had been relaxing with his girlfriends all day. She assumed he was staying in for the rest of the night. But who knew that James would suddenly disappear? At this moment, Joyce suddenly felt something. She picked up the compass and took a look. Her face was ashen. "Sir, what's wrong?" Ashley asked weakly. "Bastard. This James actually tricked us. He has already entered the small cloud heaven," Joyce said in a deep voice. The news came from that side. Almost all the major powers in the East already knew about it. This news came from the Holy Flame sect. James might have found the passageway there. "How is that possible? Even if he found the passageway, he wouldn't know how to teleport," Ashley exclaimed. "Nothing is impossible." Joyce took a deep breath and said, "Don't forget that he's very close with Stephen West. With him around, everything's possible. But this Stephen really hid it well. He only got this together with James recently, so I neglected him. This is indeed my problem. He's different from others. He's smarter and more lucky than any of the other previous human emperor's successors. I should have thought of this earlier. I really didn't expect that he'd completely ruin my plan and enter the small cloud heaven. What should we do?" Ashley felt a headache coming on. In previous years, even if the opponent was strong, they would still make use of him. But this James Lee was different. His departure had made all their plans go to waste. "He's indeed a very smart man. I should have thought of this earlier," Joyce murmured. "If I were him, I wouldn't stay on this side and wait for my death either. I might as well go to the small cloud heaven and find an opportunity to improve my strength as quickly as possible. And with Stephen around, the compass won't help find James. Small cloud heaven is huge. If he wanted to hide his identity, no one would be able to find him." "Our plan is far from complete. Even the 5 great medical treasures are in James's hands. If we don't find him, we won't be able to do anything," Ashley said with a frown. "That's right. Maybe people don't know that this human world has 4 major spatial zones. Only by breaking the space wall barrier can we leave this place." Joyce thought for a moment and then said slowly, "But the space wall barrier here is also the thickest. It's too difficult to open. Other than the method we are using now, I really don't know what other ways there are. But Ashley, in thousands of years, we've accumulated too much energy. How much do we have now?" "We've already reached 90%. We have barely reached the lowest limit," Ashley said in a deep voice. "You should also know that if this thing is not at the 100% energy, there will be a huge risk. The further one goes, the more energy is required. Those under the mid-heavenly human stage are practically useless. Ma'am, you don't really want to activate the formation right now, do you? It would be too dangerous. And without the 8 trigrams cauldron, there's not much we can do. Once James has entered the small cloud heaven, he's no longer under our control. And I don't have time to wait here any longer. We will begin when you two recover your peak strength. Even without those items, we still have substitutes on our hands. We'll try our best to succeed," Joyce said with determination.
Since you've come to small cloud heaven, the genuine chi in your body's growing at an incredible speed. You should make the best use of your time to cultivate and break through to the second layer of heavenly human stage as soon as possible,
the Alaric Lee said.
I have a very bad feeling about this. Your identity has already been exposed. Many people will be searching for you soon.
I know. James's eyes darkened. He said with a bitter smile, "Although my genuine chi has increased, I don't feel like I've broken through. This is ridiculous, and I'm not sure when I'll break through next time. Right now, I can concoct pills in the same body as myself, but it's completely useless to me. I'm not someone who can break through just by taking pills."
Remember to be patient when cultivating. There will always be results if you take it slow,
the Alaric Lee said.
Even if someone's after you, you can always hide. What are you afraid of?
Nonsense. My girls and I still have a year's agreement. James rolled his eyes and said, "If I can't return in a year, I'll have to wait for 1,000 years. I can't afford to wait. Also, after the small cloud heaven opens, they want to target my family. I won't be able to do anything about it. I have to improve my strength as soon as possible." You want to increase your strength? Since you don't have a place to go, you should go to the Western Kingdom. That place is martial cultivators' heaven, Kenneth said in a childish tone. The West is rich in natural resources. There are treasures everywhere, and there are countless battles and deaths of martial cultivators there every day. It was precisely because of the death of these high-rank martial cultivators that the soil was nurtured and the natural treasures were born. And in a month, the treasure appraisal convention in the Western Kingdom will begin. If you want any treasures, you should go there. The treasures there are far beyond your imagination. If pills are useless to you, then what about other treasures? For example, universe profound fruits can increase your strength and help advance to the next level. In fact, even more than just one level. What? Universe profound fruit? There's actually such a thing? Are you sure there is one? James exclaimed in disbelief. The universe profound fruit was a fruit that grew from gathering the chi of heaven and earth. It also contained the charm of the heavenly way. It was a great benefit to comprehend the power of heaven and earth and the best medicinal ingredient to refine a heaven pill. If James obtained this thing, he could definitely break through. There must be, Kenneth said. When I was in the Holy Flame sect, I heard them talk about it. That's why many experts have already started heading to the Western Kingdom. After all, the distance between the West and the East isn't small. Kenneth was also extremely greedy for this universe profound fruit, but he was powerless to do anything. All right, I'll leave in a few days too, James said with excitement as his eyes lit up. He had already made up his mind. Not long after James left the Chamber of Commerce, Miles appeared with several experts blocking his path. Little bastard, you've been hiding here for the past few days. I thought you wouldn't come out. Miles looked hostile. He let out a ferocious laugh and said coldly, But if you dare to come out now, you're doomed. No one will be able to live a peaceful life if they dare to provoke me. Oh, I'm sorry, who are you again? James asked indifferently. You must be very patient to have waited for me for days. If you're so dangerous, why didn't you attack the Chamber of Commerce and capture me? How dare you insult Mr. Schofield? The experts behind Miles turned tense. With a ferocious smile, one of them grabbed James's head. You're nobody and you don't know the rules. I'm talking to your master, so you're not allowed to interrupt, James said. His gaze turned cold and he grabbed his hand and fiercely twisted it. The man's arm turned numb, and he was thrown 10 feet away. You're just a puny first layer of heavenly human stage expert, yet you dare to attack me. You think too highly of yourself. Burly man fell heavily onto the ground. His face was pale, and he was covered in cold sweat. He held his arm and looked at James with fear. Initially, he thought that guy was very young and didn't think much of him. He didn't expect his opponent to be so powerful and fierce. He couldn't even block a single attack of his. Bastard, how dare you hit my men? Miles was startled when he saw this. He then shouted at the people behind him, Damn you little bastard, hurry up and kill this man. Tear him to pieces now. Yes, Mr. Schofield. Several heavenly human stage experts turned to James. How dare you provoke our boss? We're going to have to teach you a lesson. You should know that there are some people you can't afford to offend. You're just a bunch of dogs. You really think I care about what you say? A dignified second heaven and third layer of heavenly human stage experts, you actually have no dignity. James looked at the 5 people in front of him with disdain. Bastard, how dare you insult us? You're playing with fire. The experts were getting more and more angry. They took out their weapons and waved them, ready to attack. The strong, genuine chi on James's body exploded with a loud bang. He clenched his hands to his side and shouted coldly, Chaos Arts! With that, the attacks of the 5 men were instantly stopped. It was as if they were suddenly washed away by a tsunami. The strong pressure kept them down in front of James, making it impossible for them to advance any further. They felt as if their bones were going to be crushed by this strange pressure. What kind of move is this? The 5 experts were shocked as attribute armors rapidly condensed on their bodies. Only then did they feel the pressure on their bodies drop significantly.
You're using this trick to suppress us. You must be dreaming.
The third layer of heavenly human stage expert shouted in a deep voice. The genuine chi on his body began to surge and spread out in all directions. Trying to escape? James sneered. His figure split into 5. The 5 figures held wishful steel staffs in their hands and threw them at the 5 men.
What? How is this possible? How can he attack when he's suppressing us at the same time?
The eyes of the 5 men almost popped out of their sockets. They exerted all their strength to defend themselves. However, the Chaos Arts had suppressed them so much that they couldn't keep up with the speed of the 5 shadows. They could only watch helplessly as those 5 shadows ruthlessly attacked them. With dull thuds, it was as if the 5 of them had been struck in the chest by a huge hammer. The 5 men lost control of their bodies as they frantically retreated. They looked at James, terrified. He'd only used 2 moves to deal with the 5 of them at the same time, but all of them were severely injured. What kind of strength was this? Just like you all said, there are some people you can't afford to offend. James looked at the men indifferently. The genuine chi in his hand suddenly exploded, and the wishful steel staff in James's hand quickly grew. It kept growing thicker and thicker until it finally grew to 20 feet long and a foot in diameter.
What? What kind of weapon was this? How did it become so big? Is this a heavenly artifact?
Miles and the heavenly human stage experts' faces turned pale. Their teeth were chattering, and their legs shook uncontrollably. They had lived for so many years, but they had never seen such a huge weapon before. What a heavy weight. This should be at least 5,000 pounds, right? James carried the huge wishful steel staff and looked at the people in front of him. He couldn't help but grin. "Ah, you guys are very lucky. I just repaired the formation in my weapon 2 days ago, and you came looking for trouble. Coincidentally, you'll have a chance to experience the power of this treasure of mine. Spirit Stick." With a loud shout, blue veins popped out on James's arms. He swung his staff at the 5 people in front of him. When the wishful steel staff was swung, the ground it touched exploded under the double pressure of the weight and the staff chi, turning it into debris. When they saw this terrifying attack, they were paralyzed by shock. Fear rose from the bottom of their hearts and they wanted to escape, but the staff swept down with extreme speed. Before it could hit them, the staff's chi and the heavy stick intent made their movements sluggish. Their legs suddenly sank, and they were unable to escape in time. They could only watch helplessly as the staff ruthlessly smashed onto their bodies. The enormous force carried by the wishful steel staff exploded. Those 5 people were sent flying before falling heavily onto the ground. It was hard to tell if they were alive or dead.
You actually killed them.
Seeing his subordinates' bodies, Miles couldn't control himself. His fingers trembled as he pointed at James. He couldn't figure out where this kid came from. How could he be so powerful? Although the third layer of heavenly human stage experts weren't considered much in the small cloud heaven, they definitely were powerful people in Selmatin. But they couldn't even withstand a single strike from their opponent. They're just a bunch of idiots who don't know what they're doing. If they die, then so be it. Do you want to feel sorry for them, or do you want to help them survive? Their lives depend on you now. Show me what you got, and they won't die. And if you like Selma, don't involve me in this matter. I have nothing to do with her. James glanced at Miles indifferently. With a turn of his hands, the huge wishful steel staff moved closer to him. The huge force landed heavily on the ground, and it shook, creating a deep crater.
How dare you kill my people? My grandfather is the branch leader of Selmatin Alchemist Association, a powerful Earth Pill Master of the great achievement level. You're in bad luck.
Miles shouted in a stern voice. An Earth Pill Master expert is very powerful. But an Earth Pill Master of a great achievement level is amazing. With a sway of his body, James appeared in front of Miles in a split second. He smiled coldly. You ignorant fool. There are 9 heavenly pill masters in God-refining Holy Land, and none of them are qualified to be my students. A mere Earth Pill Master is not impressive to me. Are you relying on your grandfather as your backer? Sure, I'll fulfill your wish. I will meet your grandfather and see how powerful he is. You can watch your biggest backer get ruthlessly trampled under my feet. Let's see if you stay this arrogant, James said before slapping Miles in the face. How dare you hit me? Even my grandfather has never hit me. Who do you think you are? Feeling the burning pain on his face, Miles' eyes turned red. He stared at James with hostility. You're definitely dead now. When my grandfather comes here, I'll tear you to pieces. Bam. Before Miles could finish saying that, he got another fierce slap. Miles' entire face was swollen like a pig's head. 2 of his teeth shattered, and his head was buzzing. What's wrong? Are you still doubting my words? Did you notice that I hit you twice already? Does it hurt? Are you going to fight back? James said indifferently as he coldly smiled at Miles. You bastard. Bastard. As soon as I get out of here today, I will have my grandfather kill your entire family and you will never be able to reincarnate. Miles was on the verge of going crazy. He was hysterical. How are you going to kill my whole family if I kill your entire family first? James's eyes became angry, and he slapped Miles on the face. His mouth got swollen, and his eyes actually narrowed into slits. Miles wanted to say something, but his teeth were shattered, and he looked extremely miserable. You were the one playing with fire. You can't blame me for responding. James threw Miles onto the ground and took out cloud shackles. He rolled it around Miles' neck and smiled brightly. Didn't you want to see your grandfather? I'll take you to see him now. Let's see if your grandfather can save you. As he spoke, James pulled the cloud binder lock. He dragged Miles away like he was dragging a dog. Feeling the chains pulling him, Miles felt the pain in his neck. He couldn't breathe and pulled the rope to not suffocate. He tried to resist, but all the genuine chi that he had just condensed was sucked away by the chains. He had no energy to resist at all. As he continuously spat out blood from his mouth, there were scarlet stains left on the ground. James! All of a sudden, they heard a pleasant voice. There was a bit of urgency in the voice, and the person was gasping for breath. Selma, what are you doing here? James asked her in surprise. Oh, you're fine. Oh, this is great. Selma patted her chest and heaved a sigh of relief. She said, I felt uneasy when you left. Some of my men saw Miles Schofield bringing a few experts out. I was afraid that he would cause trouble for you, so I brought some people with me as quickly as I could. Where's Miles? Did he attack you? Before today, Miles and James didn't know of each other. It was only because of her that he came after James, and this made her feel very guilty. Besides, James had been teaching her alchemy with great care these few days. She had already thought of him as a friend. She really didn't want anything to happen to James. You're talking about Miles? Well, he's right here. James smiled and pointed at the man who was chained to the ground like a dog. He said faintly, As you said, he did cause me trouble, but I'm kind and didn't kill him. Selma looked at the miserable Miles on the ground and then at the few heavenly human stage experts unconscious. Did you kill all of them? You're crazy. Do you know that his grandfather's an Earth Pill Master of the Great Achievement level? We can't afford to offend such a person. We're finished. Selma's face turned very serious as she anxiously stomped her feet. Suddenly, she thought of something and pulled James away. Selma, what are you doing? Don't pull me. I'm in the middle of something. James looked at Selma in puzzlement. What are you doing? You've caused so much trouble. We need to find a place for you to hide while Mr. Schofield is unaware of this. You need to run. If you leave now, Mr. Schofield won't be able to do anything to you. Selma looked at James with her beautiful eyes. She gritted her teeth and stuffed her storage ring into his hand. She said seriously, "There's a lot of things here. I've collected these treasures over many years. Take it and run." Ah. When James saw that she'd given him the storage ring, he felt warm in his heart. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, he's just an, mere Earth pill master. You don't need to be so afraid. It's Mr. Schofield who's in trouble, not me. He didn't manage this grandson of his well, so I helped him. I also want to see what kind of person Mr. Schofield is to have raised such a trash young man." "What? You've beaten Miles up and you still want to see Mr. Schofield?" Selma felt her delicate body sway. She looked at James in disbelief and cried out, "You've really gone crazy. You should take advantage of the time you still have and run away." Initially, she thought James was very smart, but why would such a smart person do such a stupid thing? Although he was indeed not weak, what did an Earth Pillmaster Great Achievement level mean? It meant that those who had truly come in contact with the upper echelons of the small cloud heaven, in terms of status, were comparable to the 7th layer of heavenly human stage experts. To cause trouble with such a powerful figure was going too far. "Calm down. Calm down." James looked at the anxious Selma and said seriously, "These people came to bully me and wanted to kill me. His parents didn't raise him well. If I don't try to reason with them and instead try to run for my life, what would that say about me? I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I run?" But there's no one in this world who can reason with you. Only those who are strong have the right to speak. If you don't have the strength, then you're risking too much." Selma held James's hand and said softly, "I know you have pride, but you can tolerate the discomfort for a while. Don't do anything impulsive because of this momentary anger, giving away your life in vain." "Oh." James felt the soft little hand and said with a smile, "Selma, are you concerned about me?" Selma blushed when she felt James's eyes on her. She quickly retrieved her hand and said angrily, "Why are you still so heartless at a time like this?" James smiled and said casually, "Running away from any hint of trouble is not in my character. Even a mere Earth Pillmaster doesn't scare me. Thank you for your concern, Selma. I know what I'm doing. I have to take his grandson and show him to Mr. Schofield. If he sincerely apologizes to me, I'll let it slide. I won't argue with them. Don't worry, nothing will happen to them." Selma felt bitter. Who was worried about whether Miles and Mr. Schofield were going to be fine? What did it have to do with her if they were right? She was worried about James. This idiot didn't even understand that. Seeing that she couldn't persuade James, Selma gritted her teeth and said, "In that case, I'll go with you. No matter what, this problem started because of me. I will not let you take responsibility for it." "Miss, you mustn't do it. Your involvement will only make matters worse. Mr. Schofield will definitely be angrier. He'll assume that this was done on purpose because you don't like Miles," Leslie said hastily. "Leslie, I've made my decision. There's no need to mention it again," Selma said firmly. "I want to see what will happen to Mr. Schofield. All of you can go back. I don't want to implicate any of you in this." "Miss, what are you saying? We owe you so much. How could we possibly leave?" Leslie said anxiously. "If you go, of course we will go too. Isn't he just an Earth Pill Master Great Achievement level? What are we afraid of?" "Don't force yourself," James said to Leslie with a smile. "If you're not careful, you'll die." "I may not be talented, but I'm not a coward." Being frightened by James, Leslie's heart trembled. He swallowed hard and said, "I will go with Miss Selma today. Whoever does not join me is a coward." James shook his head and smiled. He said to Selma, "Since you want to go, then follow me. Let's go." He dragged the chain and pulled Miles like a dog. And then they swaggered along the street towards the Alchemist Association. When they saw James dragging a man in such a domineering manner, the passersby turned their heads and made way for him. They were all frightened. This guy was definitely not someone to be trifled with. "This man seems to be very familiar." At this moment, a person lowered his voice and said weakly, "Why does that sound like the grandson of Lord President Mr. Schofield?
Miles, from the Alchemist Association. Other than Miles, there's no one else who wore clothes like that. Furthermore, this hat is the only one like that in Selmonton.
Now that you've said it, it really looks like Miles Schofield. Heavens, someone beat Miles up like this? How could he have the guts to do that? What kind of terrifying person is this? He's disrespected an Earth Pill Master. If the older Mr. Schofield finds out about this, he'll be furious. Shh, lower your voice. The man is not a simple person. I've heard rumors that the older Mr. Schofield has already broken through to the Earth Pill Master Great Achievement level. This was completely different from a beginner. Even if he entered the large sect, he would still be an influential figure.
Everyone was discussing the situation, but James had a poker face on. He didn't care about this at all. Selma felt a little conflicted. Now that so many people had seen them, someone must have already informed Mr. Schofield by now. And once they get there, there'll be a huge siege of experts. It didn't take long for James to arrive at the branch of the Alchemist Association, but at this very moment, the branch was filled with people, and many alchemists appeared one after another. There were also many experts following him, 4th layer of Heavenly Human Stage experts, and even 5th grade Heavenly Human Stage experts were present. It was the first time in many years that such a small town had so many powerful experts in one place, apart from some grand events. But today, the faces of these experts were quite solemn. They stared at the young man who was now swaggering in front of them. The atmosphere was very tense. So many people waiting for me here. I'm flattered. James placed his hands behind his back and dragged Miles with him. He nodded in satisfaction and said with a smile, "Seems that you've already known about this matter and you're very concerned about it. I'm quite appreciative of your attention. Knowing that you've made a mistake is admirable. Come on, apologize. I'm listening. If you show your sincerity, I'll let you go. After all, we're just kids. This will teach you a good lesson. Someone, clearly, has to." As soon as he said that, it was as if everyone had been immobilized. They looked at James with blank faces as if they were looking at a monster. James beat up his grandson, Miles, and now he wanted him to apologize? What kind of logic was this? Furthermore, this situation didn't look right at all. Could it be that there was something wrong with the boy's brain? At this moment, even Selma and the people who came with James widened their eyes. They were about to lose their minds. They hurriedly lowered their heads in confusion. What was this? Were they here to discuss? Was he trying to reason with them? He was clearly here to provoke them. In front of so many people, he asked a powerful Earth Pill Master Great Achievement level to apologize to him on the premise that he beat up his grandson and dragged him here. Did he think that was possible? Grandfather, save me. Finally, Miles saw his grandfather and saw his last hope. Miles was on the verge of tears. He couldn't even speak clearly. James had dragged him all the way here, and his clothes were torn. He wanted to die. However, before Miles could finish his words, he was directly thrown in the air by James, and with a loud bang, he crashed onto the ground. Look at this boy. He has not been taught how to behave. Don't you see that I'm talking to your grandfather? Is it your turn to speak at this time? Since it's not your turn to speak, then shut up. If I'm talking, why are you interrupting, you little brat? After saying all this, James turned and looked at those people from the Alchemist Association. He revealed a bright smile and said humbly, "All of you apologize. Don't worry about me. I'm helping you teach this immature boy a lesson. After all, he needs it. As the saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You don't have to look at me with such gratitude. As a person with a sense of justice, it is only right that I do this." As soon as those words were spoken, everyone present finally reacted, and they were on the verge of losing their minds. "You threw the boy on the ground. Is that educating him? What nonsense is that?
Who do you think you are?
Miles. After a long time, Harold finally spoke. His face was furious. He looked at James with bloodshot eyes, full of resentment. You bastard! How dare you treat my grandson like this? You are courting death.
Sure enough, there is a problem with his education, James said seriously. You let him do evil things. He's arrogant and bossy, and he wants to kill people. This is not right, especially since he was using the identity of the Earth Pillmaster to swindle people. I'm afraid that you, an Earth Pillmaster, won't be able to discipline him. In fact, you might not even be able to protect yourself. I'm helping you. At this point, James spoke earnestly and sincerely, as if he were doing all of this for the sake of Harold's own good. Upon hearing these words, Harold exploded with rage. He took a deep breath and thought of his own identity. He suppressed the urge to kill.
I will manage my own grandson. I don't need you. I will say this one last time. Release Miles right now. Kneel down and apologize, and I'll consider sparing your life.
Oh, if that's the case, then you guys are here to cause me trouble. James narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, Besides, your grandson has brought several experts to kill me. I was wrong to try to teach your grandson a lesson. Your grandson tried to kill me. If I kill your grandson, then I deserve to die. Is that your logic?
Boy, don't you talk smart here.
Harold's eyes were dark and cold, and his body kept emitting a cold aura.
You actually want to compare yourself to my grandson? Even if you had 10 lives, you wouldn't be able to match him. I'll say it again. Release my grandson and don't force me to take action.
Well, since 10 of my lives can't even match one of your grandsons, then if I kill your grandson, won't I earn 9 lives? I've earned a lot. So you think I do not dare to kill him? James grinned and said happily,
You.
Looking at the genuine chi in James's hand, Harold felt stifled. He clenched his fists tightly, feeling extremely aggrieved. He didn't dare to say any words, and he really couldn't guarantee that this unscrupulous fellow wouldn't kill his grandson. He only had one grandson. Miles was his blood. Looking at the scene, everyone drew in a breath of cold air, and then they looked at James with respect and fear. This man was truly terrifying. This fellow was someone who did not care about anything. No one doubted that if Harold dared to oppose him, Miles would definitely die. Behind Selma, Leslie and the others swallowed dryly and looked at James. They had to admit that this man was really powerful. They all lived for so long and still did not have the courage of this young man. They had never thought that James would do such a thing. Oh, you don't dare to speak anymore. The corner of James's mouth revealed a hint of ridicule. If you don't dare to speak, then don't act pretentious in front of me. Who can you scare with just a few words? Do you really think I'm scared? Boy, tell me, what exactly do you want? What do you want? Harold stared at James and said in a deep voice, Do you want to cause trouble on purpose and go against me? Go against you? Are you even worthy? James glanced at Harold and said, I won't give you any attention. You really can't talk properly. I told you to apologize. Your grandson wanted to kill me, and you didn't discipline him properly. I want you to apologize to me. If you do not sincerely apologize, then I won't let him go. You want me to apologize to you? That's impossible. Who do you think you are to ask me, a dignified great achievement level Earth Pillmaster, to apologize to you? Are you worthy? Harold's face turned ashen. He flicked his hand and rejected the offer. He was a dignified great achievement level Earth Pillmaster. If he apologized to this boy here, he would have no honor left. How would he survive in the world of alchemy in the future? How could he show his face? You're just a mere Earth Pillmaster. You really think you're someone important? What are you compared to me? James sneered, his face full of disdain as he spoke arrogantly. As soon as that was said,
Everyone present instantly exploded into an uproar. Just a mere Earth Pillmaster. A Heavenly Pillmaster was nothing. These words were too arrogant. They were caught off guard and their heads started to buzz. A Heavenly Pillmaster was one of the top existences in the small cloud heaven realm. In terms of status, no one could compare with him. However, in the eyes of this young man, he was nothing. Impudent. Harold was so angry that he started to laugh. He pointed at James and shouted angrily, "What a shameless man! How dare you say that Heavenly Pillmaster is nothing? How dare you? Slandering a Heavenly Pillmaster is a capital offense. Even if I don't kill you, you are still finished. You will be hunted down by countless experts of the refining Holy Land. You will die, for sure." Hunted down? To kill me? I'm afraid they'll cry and beg me. A disdainful smile appeared on James's face. A Heavenly Pillmaster is important in your eyes, but not in my eyes. A Heavenly Pillmaster is nothing. They are far from worthy. Do you dare to disagree? Hearing these words, everyone drew in a breath of cold air. The corners of their mouths twitched. They did not know what to say anymore. They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen such a crazy man. He was simply crazy beyond comparison. At this moment, Selma was mortified. This man was too important. Although James knew alchemy was only superficial knowledge, that man was a Heavenly Pillmaster. How could James look down on him? In the entire small cloud heaven, a Heavenly Pillmaster is not one you could look down upon. There were only 9 of them. Kneel down and apologize to you. What a joke. As a dignified Heavenly Pillmaster, there are countless people supporting me. Is there a need to beg you? Who do you think you are? Harold's face was full of sarcasm and disdain. You don't believe me? James smiled faintly and said, after today, they will be looking for me all over the world. This is inevitable. Apologize to me now. It's not too late. You won't have the chance to in the future. Nonsense. Harold pointed at James and said coldly, you insulted an alchemist and Heavenly Pillmaster, sir. On the alchemist's honor, I will never forgive you. Since you're looking down on a Heavenly Pillmaster, do you have the courage to compete with me and let these people witness? If you win, not only will I apologize to you, but I will also kneel. In the future, whenever you come before me, I will kneel and greet you. However, if you lose, you must release Miles and destroy your energy center. For the sake of Miles' safety, Harold had to be careful. There were many experts behind him. If he really attacked, he firmly believed that boy would die for sure. However, he was afraid that the boy would really drag Miles down with him before he died. Therefore, there was no other way. He could only choose this method. Although he didn't say that he would kill that boy as long as his energy center was destroyed, wouldn't that boy obey his orders? If he wanted him to die, he would have to die. Furthermore, the pill refinement process was very difficult to begin with. It would consume a person's energy and genuine chi. And at that time, even if the boy dared to go back on his word, he was confident that he could save Miles before the boy attacked. You want to compete with me in alchemy? Hearing these words, James couldn't help but smile. He looked at Harold as if he were looking at a fool. So what if I win against an Earth Pillmaster like you? I wouldn't feel any sense of accomplishment. So what if you kneel for me? You think too highly of yourself. You. As soon as these words came out, Harold was trembling with anger. What exactly do you want? Look at me. Harold is no coward. Are you serious? James narrowed his eyes and smiled. If that's the case, that's fine. I'll play with you, idiot, but your chances are too low. I don't think it's worth it. If you win, I'll be at your disposal for the rest of my life. How's about this? Harold's eyes turned red as he said, and he gritted his teeth. Seeing the two of them starting to bet and the stakes being so big, everyone was so dumbfounded. A great achievement level Earth Pill Master is being ordered around by James? After all, Harold was a great achievement level Earth Pill Master. He was terrifyingly strong. Nonsense, James said with disdain. You're merely an Earth Pill Master. What use do I have for you? If you were a perfection level Heavenly Pill Master, I would consider it. Now, if I take you in, I'll have to teach you how to concoct pills. Let's talk seriously. As an Earth Pill Master, you have a lot of treasures. If you lose, in addition to your previous conditions, you will give me your storage ring. What? At this moment, when everyone heard James's words, they were in awe. A great achievement level Earth Pill Master had taken the initiative to serve him, yet he still had a look of contempt on his face. Such a domineering manner really impressed them. They were already filled with great anticipation for the duel between the two of them. At this moment, Harold felt totally humiliated. When had he, a great achievement level Earth Pill Master, ever suffered such humiliation? But now, he had no choice but to swallow it. Taking a deep breath, Harold regained his composure and said, "What about you? What if you lose?" James smiled and said, "It's up to you to decide. You can do whatever you want. I have no conditions. Even if I win, I'll give you back your grandson. I have no interest in the boy. I have helped you educate him enough. You should handle him yourself in the future." "All right, let's do as you say," Harold said coldly. "I won't let you suffer any losses. If I win, I won't kill you. I'll only destroy your energy center." "Very good. Very fair. As for what the competition will be about, just name it. I don't care." "You'd better choose what you're best at." James smiled and smiled. Harold snorted and looked at the thousands of people surrounding him. He said in a deep voice, "Everyone is here to witness the bet between this boy and me. I, Harold, will keep my word. As for the competition, it will be about concocting pills. Who will concoct the best and highest quality pills in the shortest amount of time? That will be the winner." Hearing these words, everyone nodded. Competition between alchemists was the most interesting. It was a competition for the ability to control fire.
If that's the case, I'll be the judge."
At that moment, an Earth Pill Master smiled and said,
"There's no one here who has more experience than me. I wonder if this young boy believes me."
"Of course." James smiled faintly and said, "I agree. Let's begin."